Every unanswered call at your front desk sends a customer to a rival running AI customer support agents instead. Small businesses miss almost 6 in 10 inbound calls, and one industry estimate puts the annual cost of that gap near $126,000. Buried in Gartner's own data is a number that contradicts almost everything vendors tell you about automation. A handful of small teams are hitting resolution rates that outperform massive enterprise call centers, and the build order you choose decides whether this pays off in week 1 or sits unused for months. Picture the typical Tuesday at a 10-person service business. Phones ringing during a job, emails piling up overnight, and a customer asking the same shipping question for the 3rd time this week. The owner is either on a ladder, in a client meeting, or asleep, and none of those moments pause for a support ticket. Every channel split across email, chat, and phone means the same question gets answered 3 different ways, by 3 different people, or not answered at all. That gap between what customers expect and what a lean team can physically deliver is where most SMB support breaks down. For a small business fielding 200 support contacts a month, that volume quietly becomes an operations cost. Most owners never isolate on a spreadsheet. Each human-handled ticket pulls time, follow-up, and coordination that doesn't stop at business hours, and the accumulated cost across a year rarely surfaces as one clear line item. A 2022 Gartner forecast puts a number on the industry-wide version of that problem. Conversational AI projected to reduce labor costs by $80 billion in 2026, because routine inbound volume has outpaced what human-only teams can absorb. That's not a rounding error at any scale. The reason this gap persists isn't a shortage of available technology. Basic chatbots have sat in app marketplaces for years. Most small businesses install one, pointed at a generic frequently asked questions, and assume the support problem is solved. When a bot with no access to order history, inventory, or appointment calendars can only stall a customer, rather than actually help them. The real mechanism that fails is integration, not intelligence. A tool that can't see what's actually happening inside your business will frustrate callers faster than silence ever did, and that frustration rarely shows up in a vendor's demo. Inaction has a price tag. Why doesn't a customer who can't get a fast answer usually complain instead of quietly switching to a competitor who responded first? Multiply that across a year of missed calls, delayed replies, and repeated questions, and a 10-person business can lose the equivalent of a full-time salary in revenue that never gets traced back to support. The longer that leak goes unmeasured, the harder it becomes to justify fixing it, because the cost shows up as a slow erosion in growth, rather than one obvious line item on a spreadsheet. Start the diagnostic before buying anything. Pull the last 60 days of support contacts and sort them by channel, time of day, and how long each one took to close. Most owners discover the same pattern once the data is in front of them. A small set of repetitive questions, like order status, hours, or pricing, accounts for the majority of total volume. That cluster is the only target. Trying to automate everything on day 1 is how SMB automation projects stall before they ever go live. Once that cluster is identified, routing matters more than replying. Connect your inbox, web form, and chat widget into a single workflow using a tool like N8N or Make. Calm, so every incoming question lands in one place instead of 3. From there, AI customer support agents can read each message, tag it by category, and draft an instant first response for the routine cases while flagging anything unusual for a human to review. That routing layer can absorb much of the repetitive volume without a single new hire. Most SMBs see this one connection cut response time from hours to under a minute. The next failure point lives inside your business systems, not the chatbot itself. Connect the AI layer to your order management, calendar, or inventory feed, so it can check a real shipping status or book a real appointment instead of telling the customer to call back during business hours. Most automation projects quietly fail here. They stop at the chatbot and never wire it into the systems that hold the actual answer, which means the bot still has to escalate the very questions it was built to handle. The consolidation move comes last. Route every escalation, every edge case, and every transcript back into one shared dashboard your team actually checks. That single view turns scattered automation into a system. because someone has to see what the AI couldn't resolve and feed that gap back into its instructions. Set a weekly quarter-hour review where one person scans flagged conversations and updates the knowledge base the AI pulls from. Skip that review and the system quietly decays, answering this month's questions with last quarter's information. Put those 3 moves together: routing, integration, and a weekly feedback loop. And the result isn't a chatbot bolted onto a website. It becomes a support function that runs without anyone manning it around the clock, covering nights, weekends, and the gaps between jobs that used to go straight to voicemail. Customers get answers at 2 a.m. What that's actually worth, in hard numbers instead of vendor promises, is where the data gets specific. A 2023 McKinsey report on generative AI in customer operations documented a company running 5,000 support agents that layered AI into the workflow and measured the result directly. A 14% increase in issue resolution per hour, and a 9% drop in average handling time. For a business that size, that's the equivalent of adding hundreds of effective work hours back into the week without a single new job posting. For a 10-person operation, the same mechanism applies at a smaller scale, because the math behind faster resolution per interaction doesn't change with headcount. The lesson scales down even when the company in the study doesn't. Here's the number most software demos conveniently leave out. Across the industry, the average AI resolution rate sits at 44.8%, according to Com100's 2026 AI Live Chat Benchmark Report, based on 2025 data. But small teams that scope their automation tightly, limiting it to the cluster of repetitive questions identified earlier, push that figure as high as 89% on the queries they actually hand the AI. That gap between average and top performers has nothing to do with budget size. It comes down entirely to whether the AI was set loose on everything or pointed at the right slice of the problem. A support tool priced at $200 a month that resolves even 40 routine contacts weekly already costs less than 1 part-time hire. An earlier Juniper research forecast on chatbot savings projected roughly $8 billion in annual industry-wide savings, built almost entirely from contacts that used to require a paid human hour and now don't. The same mechanism the McKinsey case study and Com100 benchmarking confirm at the operator level. That projection and the per-business math share the same driver. None of those figures change the decision in front of an SME operator. They confirm which direction it's moving. Put the 3 numbers side by side. What pattern emerges that no single statistic could show alone? McKinsey's case study proves the resolution math works at enterprise scale. Com100's 2025 data shows tightly scoped automation beats broad deployment at any size, and Juniper's earlier forecast confirms the underlying savings mechanism holds across the market. None of that guarantees results. But it does mean the decision in front of most SME owners isn't whether AI customer support pays off. It's whether their specific deployment is scoped tightly enough to be one of the ones that does. This doesn't fix pricing problems. If customers are angry because a shipment is consistently late, or a service is overpriced for what it delivers, faster ticket resolution only means they hear the bad news sooner. Automation handles volume and speed. It has no opinion on whether the underlying business is delivering what it promised. Bolting AI support tools onto an operations problem doesn't solve the operations problem. It makes the complaints arrive in cleaner formatting. Will this workflow function if the underlying data is a mess? If your inventory feed lags by 2 days, the AI will confidently tell a customer something that was true on Tuesday and false by Thursday. If your calendar isn't the actual source of truth for appointments, the system will double book with total confidence and no awareness of the mistake. The automation is only as reliable as the systems it's reading from, and most SMBs underestimate how messy those systems already are. Gartner's January 2026 forecast contains the number that contradicts most of what automation vendors pitch. By 2030, resolving an issue with generative AI is projected to cost over $3, higher than many human agents working offshore. A December 2025 Gartner survey of customer service leaders found that only 20% had actually reduced headcount because of AI, and half of the companies that did cut staff are expected to rehire by 2027. Why does the savings story persist? Because early wins on the easy 80% of tickets are real, but they aren't the same as a permanently lower cost structure. This isn't a fully autonomous department. It's a system that takes the predictable 70 or 80% of contacts off a human's plate, freeing the owner or the one support hire to handle the judgment calls that actually need a person. That's a meaningfully different business than the one running on missed calls and overnight backlogs, even if it isn't the fully automated operation some pitch decks promise. Set the bar there, and the project succeeds on terms that hold up past the first quarter. AI customer support agents don't replace good judgment, but they remove the busy work standing between your customers and an answer. The businesses winning right now aren't the ones with the biggest AI budget. They're the ones who scoped the problem before they touched a single tool. Where in your own support process is the gap actually sitting right now? Most owners already know the answer. They haven't written it down yet. Start with 60 days of contact data before a single dollar gets spent on software.